Hi, everyone. I am so sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we are going to go ahead and finally get started with this panel today, Securing Guest Wi-Fi More Important Than Ever. I'm Corey. I'm going to be hosting, and I am joined today by guest Wi-Fi experts that happen to be a few of DNSFilter's most passionate. I think we're in for a really great discussion. So we've got Carl Levine, Richie Wade, and Ben Greenfield. Some housekeeping before we get started is there is a question box on the right side of your screen, so please feel free to send in your questions along the way. We'll be answering them throughout the discussion, but we'll also have a designated Q&A at the end. We are recording this, so you will receive a recording via email, so don't worry if you miss anything, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So you each are here today on this panel because you have really strong feelings about guest Wi-Fi. Can you please share why you're so passionate about securing public Wi-Fi? Carl, let's start with you.
Sure. Yeah, we live in a connected world, and I feel that, ensuring that every ingress point to the internet, should be as safe as possible. And it's incumbent on the operators of guest Wi-Fi networks to ensure that, they're affording the same level of protection that your corporate network may be giving you, or even the astute do-it-yourselfers at home, ensuring that your home internet connection is also safe.
Okay, very interesting. Richie, I want to ask you the same thing. Why are you so passionate about securing public Wi-Fi?
Well, I'm a big fan of cybersecurity in general. I love that our trends are always changing. There's always a new attack surface to work on. And guest Wi-Fi has quickly become a major focal point for bad actors. So it's something that I'm really interested in to dig in a bit further with.
And Ben, I'm going to ask you obviously the same question. Why are you so passionate about this?
Yeah, for me, something that I've always been incredibly interested in is how organizations can provide the best customer experience to all of their customers and people that they hope to be a customer. And I think we're constantly seeing that landscape changing and what an organization can provide to do that. And one of those things that's really come on the scene very quickly over the last 5 or 10 years is providing that guest Wi-Fi experience. However, with some of these bad actors, cyber attacks, things like that, it can actually very quickly become a very negative customer experience for people leveraging a guest Wi-Fi network that is unsecured. So really just kind of diving in here and understanding how you can continue to provide that safe, secure customer experience and making sure that it doesn't actually turn into something very negative for that consumer.
I love that, and I definitely want to touch more on that later. Richie, to your point, we know that guest Wi-Fi opens organizations up to threats, but what does that mean, and what kind of threats are we talking about?
I mean, internal, external threats, I mean, you really have the gambit there. Internal threats, people using devices out of band from corporate network, gain access to resources that would normally be restricted. You can even have bad actors that are set up on that guest Wi-Fi network that are trying to steal customer data. When your customer's trying to log into a website or a bank site, they're trying to steal those credentials. And really just use it however way that they can use it the best. If they want to use it for attacking, if they want to publish that information or try to sell that information, it's all results that you do not want your information there. You don't want your information in their hands, and you don't want your client's information in their hands either. Very important.
Yeah,
definitely.
I totally agree. That's, I'm just
go right ahead,
Richie's
Carl,
there. Yeah. No, I mean, for anybody that's worked in a corporate environment, especially one that, where network resources are, severely locked down, which, of course, music to our ears here at DNSFilter, because we help enable that. There's a great risk of, people, and it's not just about, I mean, obviously there's the cybersecurity bent to this, but lost productivity and everything else too. So it's sort of this balance of, well, here's a value-added service that we offer to our customers here in our office, but here's also something that could be, used, to thwart productivity as well.
Interesting. So I I have another question about how bad actors even gain access to an unsecured network, and what are they trying to gain, and then how are they trying to do it?
I mean, what aren't they trying to gain? You've got credentials, you got sensitive or proprietary information. If that internal network isn't set up properly, and things aren't properly cordoned off into specific VLANs or other sort of segregated network groups, there's a possibility you could breach internal firewalls, in a improperly configured situation.
I mean, there's even situations where employees of the business are taking advantage of the guest network to kind of push their own agenda, like maybe torrent or do some illegal P2P file sharing type stuff on the guest network without the business knowing.
And
Yeah.
just to that point as well, Richie, in a lot of these retail locations, there's business critical applications being run on guest Wi-Fi networks through certain devices. And this is really a way to circumvent your traditional corporate security stack, where folks aren't really investing as much time or energy or even money into their guest networks. They really aren't realizing that they do have these attack vectors to even get back to the corporate network. So I definitely think it's an evolving landscape. And as we see, more IoT devices, more devices in the hands of, those employees on the ground floor, we even see those attack vectors begin to get to that corporate network.
Interesting. So what are some ways to ensure that your organization isn't at risk from poorly secured Wi-Fi?
I mean, absolutely having some sort of DNS layer security, or some sort of security looking at that DNS layer. I mean, so many attacks come on that layer. I think it was about 70%, something like that, around that
More than that
number.
Closer to 80.
Yeah, 80% on the DNS layer. So you want to have something on that layer to catch most of that stuff, because you definitely don't want that in your network. Another good practice is just to kind of keep up with security practices. Use your guest network strictly for non-corporate devices, and then use your business network for corporate devices.
And so what's the difference? What would typically be the difference of your corporate device network and your guest Wi-Fi network?
Your corporate device.
Yeah, go ahead, Richie. As always, we are very much in sync.
Right.
Both of the answers we're about to dole out here.
Oh yeah. So I mean, your corporate device network, you're usually going to have a lot more security controls. It's going to be a little bit more locked down. You're going to have more of your attention towards that network, because you want that network operating and has different internal resources that it leans on for business operations that you need to have running. So it's usually a good idea to have a pretty strict corporate network, and then you use, for employee cell phones or tablets, have a guest network that's completely separate, maybe a little bit more strict. It doesn't have any of those internal connections to your network. So you're kind of siloed off in that little network, and it's a safer place in general for the users and for the business.
Absolutely. And I think that, common sense used to dictate. It would say, oh yeah, you've got a smartphone, you can connect over, LTE or, whatever, and just go about your personal business. But I don't know if this happened to any of you, but I recently upgraded to the new iPhone, which is a 5G phone. And because 5G operates on millimeter wave technology, it doesn't penetrate most building structures. So if you're in a traditional office building that's constructed of steel and masonry, chances are your cell coverage isn't going to work great. And so there's going to be this increased need for guest Wi-Fi. And that applies on all, if you're walking into a department store, it's the same thing. And, for a large, retail chain to be able to, say, hey, I noticed you're trying to go to this other major online retailer to try and find a better deal. Like, they can, use DNS layer protection to, kind of keep that experience really tailored. That happened to me recently. I was last Friday, had a day off. I went down to a discount tool chain that has recently rolled out Wi-Fi to all of their stores and not use DNSFilter. Shame. And if you tried to do anything besides use their app, it would block everything. Like, they've got that thing tied down so you can only use their app, only be able to pull up your coupons. Even if you had a coupon in your email, it's like, forget it, you have to use the app. So that's kind of like the other extreme of it. It's like, and to Ben's point earlier about customer experience, like, if I'm at that store and I want to like text my wife, like, hey, do we need any more zip ties or, whatever. I want to be able to like get that message out, but because I'm on a 5G phone and I'm inside a base Greenfield building, I can't get out. So there's, the guest Wi-Fi thing is going to become, to Ben's point, a resurgence. I think that we're going to see a lot more, retail and business and just every kind of business offering up some kind of Wi-Fi in coming years with the change in cellular technology.
That's really interesting about the phone service, because I feel like that explains why my phone never works in Target. I'm always so frustrated. Like,
Yeah.
so then I have to connect to the Wi-Fi. So that actually leads me into the safety risk of people that are using the guest Wi-Fi. Are they at risk by connecting to a guest Wi-Fi that's not secured?
I think that, this scenario, it differs, with every organization, how they're providing that Wi-Fi, who's going on it. But all Americans, all consumers and individuals in general, want to make sure that they're secured when they're leveraging these networks. If you think about it, we're in such a virtual world today. We're all on the go. We're traveling. We're working in coffee shops. We're working in sky clubs. We're working in the airport. And we're accessing business critical applications on all of these devices. So, with these guest Wi-Fi networks, you're very susceptible to packet sniffing, in the middle attacks, things like that. And kind of circling it back around to this, phenomenal consumer experience you're trying to provide for your customers and these individuals coming into your stores, coming into your coffee shops, coming into your sky clubs, things of that nature. Think about how horrible of a PR situation you're going to be dealing with if it turns out that there was malicious malware or some sort of attack that happened on the network that you were providing. Obviously on the individual consumer level, this might not hurt your business a ton, but in a business to business scenario, if for some reason your organization is partnered with another organization and those individuals are coming in and leveraging those guest Wi-Fi networks, that's a PR nightmare. And then you're gonna inevitably have a ton of money associated with being lost to these kinds of scenarios. So I think it really differs in every situation, Corey, but ensuring that you can really get in front of those incidents from happening and making sure that you're not in a PR nightmare or a huge nightmare of revenue loss for your business is really something that we're looking at now and seeing that this has a huge impact on.
It makes a lot of sense. We actually just had a question come through about this, that do store owners have liability if they have an incident and customer data is exposed?
So I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but I did do a little bit of kind of back of the napkin research for this webinar. Legal precedent around this has not been, very clear. However, there have been, sort of musings of cases where somebody was on a laptop, they logged into the Wi-Fi, they clicked, yep, I accept the terms of use, and then went and, did nefarious things, and people saw, what was happening on this person's screen and, were, then, subject to, litigation. So it's hard telling. It's early days, I think. There hasn't been a true landmark case yet. But again, not a lawyer. So, but I would say that, for anybody here who has, ever logged in, we all blindly click that. I accept the terms and conditions and hit go. Those terms and conditions are actually pretty stringent. And, depending on how they're written and in the jurisdiction in which you are operating, there could be certain precedent that play into that. So I would say that, just kind of, review those terms and conditions and then use a DNS filtering product like DNSFilter to block those types of content that you don't want the people on your Wi-Fi network to access. it's, we talked a lot about threats, we talked a lot about, malware, botnet, phishing, etc. But, we can also block 37 different content categories. And so, one-click SIPA compliance, Child Internet Protection Act, so block all the categories that would, possibly land you in some legal hot water if somebody did access that from within your network.
And I think just to add to kind of Carl's point here is, I think everyone can agree the landscape has moved to a more proactive approach to cyber threats, to ensuring that these networks are secured. And I would say the same thing with legal. We know that the letter of the law doesn't move as quickly as technology does. We're still dealing with a lot of those things in court cases where they're still trying to figure out exactly how to write litigation around this. Get in front of that. Don't be the organization that has to be one of the first organizations getting sued for something like this, because I'm not a future teller, but I do see a lot more cases kind of coming down the pipe from this. And you really just want to make sure you're doing everything you can to, first of all, keep your organization out of the news, have a good customer experience, good PR, but then even more so, stay out of the legal cases. Make sure that you're not losing a ton of revenue, a ton of money to all of these court cases that you might inevitably have to get involved in.
I think that's a really good point, and it leads me back to, I mentioned that we were going to come back to your point about guest experience, Ben. So how can guest Wi-Fi improve a visitor's experience with an organization?
So, I mean, I think it really is the new norm nowadays. To Carl's point, I think if anybody goes into a business and is hoping to, possibly get some work done, or even just communicate with the outside world, and they don't have that capability, it's going to be a really bad experience for them. And I think we know it's much easier for somebody to remember a bad experience somewhere than to remember a good experience. And depending on how negative that experience it is, you can really be losing these customers. I think we've all seen it. I think, Carl, you had a phenomenal, example with the Volvo dealership the other day when you.
I had to go pick up some parts the other morning, and I walked into the service department. There's just people plastered in. They had like nice little workstations all set up. People could plug their laptops in. They want to encourage people to stay in their showroom so they can sell more accessories, or if they come back, oh geez, I'm really sorry, your rear trailing arms need replacing. They're right there. They can have that conversation, and then they can just walk to the showroom and be like, maybe I'll lease a new one instead. So every business that has any sort of desire to keep people in front of their product, their offerings, offer a guest Wi-Fi, and then people will be more, akin to staying within, your retail establishment or restaurant or coffee shop, Volvo dealer, whatever have you, and then good things come from that. It's not all doom and gloom with guest Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything to add, Richie?
I mean, I was going to add, but I think Carl just pretty much knocked it out of the park. I would say, just in the same sort of sense, it just gives you more opportunity to build rapport with your client base. You can really make a lifelong client out of just providing some services and making it a pleasurable place to be at for that time.
Definitely, especially if your cell phone's not going to work there.
Yeah,
there it is.
We had another question come in. If we are using DNSFilter, do we still require third-party antivirus applications?
So there are no silver bullets in cybersecurity. DNS layer protection is, certainly one way to afford a certain type of protection. Antivirus, gets into a whole different, other part of the stack.
And I think you kind of hit the on that with the there is no one solution that's going to effectively stop all attack vectors. But with most of the DNS attack, or with most cyber attacks being at the DNS layer, approximately 80%, getting that blanket coverage in is going to be something that can have some really, really, really quick time to value, for all of your end users.
I always like to think that DNSFilter is a solid foundation to your security stack. So it's not your full stack, but it's a very good piece to have.
Makes the rest of the parts work easier.
Right.
Less work. And another great question just come in now, Corey, I think.
Yeah, securing guest Wi-Fi, open versus WA2 security.
Yeah. So I think, we've all been there. You go into a restaurant, it's like, I wonder if they have Wi-Fi. And you see the little lock icon, and it's like, well, now I got to ask for that password. A lot of the open networks use what's known as a captive portal. So, the network may appear as an open network and you connect to it, and then a little dialog box comes up and says, hey, do you accept the terms and conditions? Maybe asks you for your email address. That ultimately comes down to customer experience. I mean, securing the entire network behind something like WPA2 does, afford a greater degree of protection, because just not anybody can, force through that captive portal and jump on. They may have to ask somebody, hey, what's your Wi-Fi password? Or go looking for a weird place on your menu, and it's like, oh, look, garden salad, Caesar salad, oh, and our Wi-Fi password, there it is. So 6 of one, half dozen the other, but honestly, WPA2 is going to afford you that greater degree of protection.
Absolutely. I would say WPA2. I mean, that just really forces your users to go through you or your company to get access versus that captive portal. But I mean, they're really minuscule, the differences there.
Yeah. Opportunistic wireless encryption.
Sorry, someone commented that's actually opportunistic wireless encryption. Do we have anything to add on that?
Captive portal? Yeah.
So I want to go back to kind of the customer experience, but along the lines of how that affects an organization. So I've heard y'all talk about it before, but there's ways to gain insights into what customers are doing on the Wi-Fi, right? And so I'm curious, how is that beneficial to know? And what kind of insights are there? But then I'm also curious, is that a privacy risk to be able to access that information?
Yeah, so with our
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, with our product, I mean, we do offer security as well as some reporting insights. So, I mean, you can see the top requested domains, you can see the top used social media platforms. All of this information does have actionable business value to it. You can really figure out where the most of your user base is at online, and you can market towards that, just for an example. But with our guest Wi-Fi service, we do not track the identifiable information of the person making that query, just the queries themselves. So your customer privacy is still intact, even though you're getting all of these really awesome reporting insights.
And just to add to that, I mean, how many times have each of us been inside of a business before, Target, Walmart, whatever it might be, shopping around, looking at stuff, and you go on your phone to go check out the competitors. Hey, is this something that I can get on another website or another store for cheaper? These are really data points that, as you begin to build them and correlate them with other data points from the business, you can see some actionable insights that you might not have gotten from your customers. So, as you kind of continue to build this and you continue to get more data, you're not infringing on privacy rights from your customers because it's all anonymized, but you're still getting those data points and you're still seeing, okay, majority of the individuals coming into our store are looking at competitors at this site, and we're losing out on, selling this product because we're not pricing it correctly or we're not marketing it correctly. So I really think, this data is as valuable as you make it. And I'm really excited to kind of see how we see organizations continue and start to leverage this moving forward.
I'm also very interested to see how companies use that. We had another comment come in. Notice some Wi-Fi needs to install certificates to gain connection. Kind of scary to allow certificates on your mobile phone. Do you have comment on that?
Yeah, that scares me. That just gave me the chills.
Very
I don't
scary.
like to think about that. any Wi-Fi that's, you know, suddenly saying, hey, trust this certificate, I'd be a little leery of myself. I know that, you know, the way that we implement DNSFilter on a guest network, you know, it's one of the great challenges of DNS-based filtering is, you know, having a block page come up, you know, instead of just say, hey, we couldn't complete this transaction. You know, in our, you know, larger deployments within, you know, companies or, you know, places that have roaming clients installed on machines, we definitely see, you know, there's a certificate that gets installed as part of that, but that's part of how our product operates. But, you know, on your guest Wi-Fi, you know, just to have that level of protection where it just stops the DNS transaction from happening because it's, you know, a less than stellar site based on the filtering policies that you've set forth. You know, that's something that, you know, we've taken a lot of pride in the fact that we don't push a certificate, you know, for those sort of situations. So
Good to know. So, Carl, I know that you've recently tested some different free public Wi-Fi networks to see what
yeah,
they're
it's my new hobby.
That's your new hobby. What kinds of things did you find?
Well, so we have this security audit tool that we developed. This is sort of a joint venture of our marketing team and our data science team to just try and suss out some of the, you know, nuances of different types of you know, networks. So I had this application installed on my laptop, and for those of you who came here from my LinkedIn post where I posted a video where I went to a very popular chain of coffee shops where people tend to like to open up their MacBooks and do work. I decided to run the security audit tool on their Wi-Fi. So I was able to, you know, go in with DNSFilter disabled, even though I have the roaming agent on my machine. I have special powers. So I turned that off and I ran the tool, and the results were pretty staggering. It was like 37% of malware and 21% of botnet or phishing. I don't know, the numbers were alarmingly low. So the baseline protection afforded, but whether or not they had any sort of protection in place remained to be seen. I didn't go into my network control panel and see which DNS servers I inherited, you know, via DHCP when I connected, but you know, this was, you know, certainly something that was, you know, a bit eye-opening for me. And, you know, I travel a lot for this company and I go a lot of different places. And so, you know, anytime I have the opportunity, I'm running this threat tool just to get a sense of, you know, just how bad it is out there. It is important. What's that, Ben?
I was just gonna note, we always get a kick out of the cybersecurity conferences we go to. Every time we run the efficacy tool on the guest Wi-Fi cybersecurity events, you would be shocked at the lack of cybersecurity that's being provided on these guest Wi-Fi networks. So it's always a good joke.
Did we try it at Black Hat? I can't remember.
I think we did run it at Black Hat. I know we ran it at Black Hat, at HIMSS, at Gartner. It's always a good laugh to show attendees how unsecure the Wi-Fi is at these events where all of the leaders in cybersecurity are getting together. It's something we get a good chuckle out of.
Absolutely. So we did have a question in the box asking what the name of the security tool is. I just need to double check that we have that available for public consumption. Again, I know that we had initially rolled it out a couple months ago and there was some confusion around it. So Mike, you've asked the question. I'll follow up with you offline with that.
Awesome. And so along the lines of the results that you're finding with this tool, what conclusions can you draw from, like, what is that telling you?
So the average person that may be connecting to that Wi-Fi at that specific location of that specific chain that I'm not naming, but you can draw your conclusions. You know, there's a good chance that if somebody else were on that network, or you brought a machine into that network that was infected with malware or had some kind of you know, trigger to go look up a botnet command and control host name, or if you even got an email that, hey, you want a free way, Yeti cooler, click here. I get like 14 of those a day. It's so annoying. And I do click on them because I want to, see DNSFilter in action, and it works every time. But if you're in a situation where this looks legit, and you clicked on it, and you're on that network, it wasn't going to stop you from going and doing something stupid. You could end up on a page that looks like Amazon. It's not Amazon. You plug in your credentials, and then suddenly you're the proud owner of like 14 blow-up pools or something. I don't know. It'd be very bad.
Depends on your definition of bad, I guess, if you really wanted all of those. All right, so those are really all of the questions that I have for you guys. I know that we have our Q&A still filtering in some questions. One just came in. What do you think the direction of travel is with DNS filtering, given the rise of DNS over HTTPS and DNS over TLS?
Sure. I'll address that, and Richie, if you want to chime in too, happy to kind of nerd out on this. So for those who don't know, DNSFilter actually does DNS over TLS. The reason that we've chosen that routing versus DNS over HTTPS is the latter runs specifically in a web browser and only protects your web traffic. But DNS is everything. It's not just your web traffic. It's every service that runs on your computer. Your Macs are phoning home. Your Windows PCs are phoning home. They're doing all sorts of stuff out on the internet that goes unseen largely to the average computer user. So by leveraging DNS over TLS, which is an option for all of our network deployed, roaming client deployed, and relay deployed customers, there's certain settings you can change. It's all in our help docs, but you're ensuring that all DNS traffic from your endpoints are being encrypted, and so we are respectful of that.
Yeah, I definitely think that we are moving towards more DOH, DOT, but more so DOT in general. I mean, if we look at email technology over the years, now it's all about email encryption. DNS traffic will probably follow suit as well.
I had a lot of asks for it, and I myself I run DOT through DNSFilter exclusively. So.
Awesome. So this will be the last call for Q&A questions. If anyone has anything else, go ahead and add those in the box and we'll get to them. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for a great conversation. I'm going to give it a few more minutes to see if a couple more questions come in, but do you have any closing notes on why securing guest Wi-Fi is so important?
Let's not all speak up at once.
I was going to say, Carl, I don't like cutting you off, man. You're so eloquent with your words. I didn't want to get in the way, but I mean, I think we've talked about a couple of the main points here a few different times in a couple different ways, but it really is a changing landscape. We're fortunate enough to be in an amazing world of technology where things are moving at the speed of light nowadays. And I think, as we kind of mentioned at the beginning, this is just a new thing for most organizations. I don't think 10 years ago, 99% of the companies that are providing guest Wi-Fi are today. And I think that's a phenomenal thing for organizations, for the customers, for everyone. But there's also these hidden risks associated with that. So really making sure that you're staying on the cutting edge of getting in front of these risks and how you can, implement some best practices to ensure that you're delivering that customer experience, but also keeping them safe. And I think we all know how important it is to keep customers happy. So that's kind of the last thing I'll have to say about it. But I don't know if you have anything to say, Carl or Richie.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you can do to mitigate that risk to you and your clients. I mean, that's going to be a good move. That's going to save you money in the long run. That's going to be the more cost-effective option versus dealing with issues as they rise.
We have another question.
Remember, all these. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Does DNSFilter have any features that would assist me showcasing what the product has done for my stakeholders?
Absolutely. So as Richie alluded to earlier, we've got a comprehensive suite of reporting within our dashboard And we also just came out with a new feature known as scheduled reports, which allows you to, on a regular cadence, have an email sent to your administrator and up to 20 different users within your organization to understand threats that are happening within your organization. We'll be adding more functionality very soon that will allow us to do a bit more. And so I would encourage you, if you're already a DNSFilter customer, to check it out. If you're not a DNSFilter customer, you're about 15 seconds away from being a DNSFilter 14-day trial prospect. So feel free to go through, sign up, try it out. And scheduled reports should be available in your trial account as well.
I'm a big fan of the Data Explorer myself. I love the graphs and being able to kind of pick your time frame, and then you have the option to export it to a PDF, all nice and neat for your client. So it's definitely a good tool.
Yeah, and this is built for resellers too. So if you're in the business of rolling out guest Wi-Fi to many different customers, the scale that we offer for that is pretty great.
Absolutely. Can DNSFilter provide better documentation on using Android roaming client deployments?
That's something we can certainly raise with our support team and make sure that we get that information updated for you.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil, and I'll squeak on that one. So I'll leave it at that.
We have been working on the oil though, Ben. So the resolution should be coming sooner rather than later.
Well, there you have it.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think that's everything that I have for y'all today. Thank you so much for this great discussion. If nobody else has any other questions, somebody's commenting on my yeah, Reese is in just about every meeting or video call that I am in. So she's my
real star
biggest
of the show today.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. This was really awesome. And like I mentioned before, the recording will be going out to everyone that registered and attended. So yeah, we are happy to do these for you. We're doing webinars every month. So look out for the next topic.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Always a pleasure.
All right.
Have a great day.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.